This is Ronnie Cox. He's an actor, as is John Voight and Ned Beatty. Burt Reynolds is an actor, too. These four men are characters in a new motion picture that was filmed in the hill country and deep forests of North Georgia. The movie is adapted from James Dickey's powerful best-selling novel, Deliverance. And John Borman, the director of the film, tells how they shot it.
The only way we could shoot this picture, because of the problem of access to this river, was that we would put equipment onto jeeps and we bumped out across little forest tracks for maybe 2 hours till we get down to the river. And then we'd take the 4 actors in 2 canoes and maybe 4 guys, me, the cameraman, and assistant cameraman, a couple of grips in 2 little rubber boats, and we'd start down the river. When you see that river and you realize what this country used to be, you can only weep for the destruction.
Author James Dickey is also concerned over the way this natural world is being ravaged. Its survival is one of the central ideas of his writings. He talks about the losses imposed by man.
We are never going to be able to get out of the man world if we don't have any place to go to from the man world. That's why we need these rivers and streams and creeks and woods and mountains. You need to be in contact with nature as it was made by something else than men.
Dickey is professor of English and poet in residence on this campus at the University of South Carolina. He shares with Robert Lowell the distinction of being one of the major American poets of his generation. Dickey's physical presence is striking. When he writes of challenging raging white water in a frail canoe, or hunting deer with bow and arrow in the wilderness, it's something he's done himself. As a man, he leaves his imprint on everything and everybody he meets, particularly John Borman, with whom he worked on the picture.
Well, let me tell you about James Dickey, because this man is one of the most extraordinary, outrageous, impossible, brilliant men you could ever hope to meet. His reputation on the campus is of a stimulating and outrageous teacher, a great reader of his own poetry, a man who can galvanize 1,000 students, make a poetry reading seem like a pop concert.
With maybe some dim racial notion of being the last, but none of how much your unnoticed going will mean. How much the timid poem needs the mindless explosion of your rage, the glutton's internal fire, the elk's heart in the belly sprouting wings, the pact of the blind swallowing thing with himself to eat the world and not to be driven off it until it is gone, even if it takes forever. I take you as you are and make of you what I will, skunk bear, carcajou, bloodthirsty non-survivor. Lord, let me die, but not die out.
Another theme of James Dickey's is man testing himself against nature and discovering forces inside himself he never knew existed. And this is the idea of his story, Deliverance. Putting those kind of experiences on film became a tough, bruising job for the 4 actors. How rough is told by the director.
It was a big physical commitment because these actors, in order to get the veracity that was so important to the story, and it was an intensely dangerous situation, they gave that total commitment. There's a sequence which is quite an important scene in the film where the character of Ed, played by John Voight, has to scale a 200-foot cliff, and John felt that he ought to climb that cliff himself because he felt it was a kind of betrayal not to use a double or whatever. And he did.
In the film, the men are caught in a harrowing bind, trapped between the wild rapids and a killer lurking out of sight. To reach him, Ed has to draw on strengths he didn't know he had, or he and his friends will not survive. Burt Reynolds is John Voight's co-star. He plays Lewis, a powerful man with an obsession for pitting himself against nature. He finds in James Dickey an expert with the bow and arrow and calls on his help to tune up for the film. John Borman is impressed with the actor's coordination.
Burt Reynolds, of course, has a magnificent physique and is a tremendous athlete, has a stunning sense of balance. He also is very interesting that he took up the bow, archery, and he achieved, in a matter of a few days, extraordinary accuracy.
Those who know Dickey see much of him in each of his 4 characters.
I love the woods and I love wild nature. I think any human being enjoys being where he likes to be. And it's an important part of my particular psychological makeup. What I would like for people to imagine when they see the film is that this guy, this mild-mannered suburban fella, businessman, is really a natural-born killer.
The sheriff in the story is a man who is from those parts, and he looks it. And it seemed very appropriate that Dickey played the part of a sheriff. He didn't like acting too much, but he did it terribly well because he brought to it such a depth of experience and feeling.
Now, what about this?
Look, Sheriff, we've been through quite a lot. I don't know what's wrong with your man there.
Mr. Queen's got a brother-in-law back up in there somewhere. He took off hunting a 3 days ago, and nobody's heard from him since. And Mr. Queen thought maybe y'all might have happened up on him somewhere.
Well, we didn't.
Dave, don't let him go. These boys is lying.
Each day, the company worked their way down the Chattooga River, shooting until they reached the main body of the crew, miles downstream. If there were any smash-ups or if somebody got hurt, the actors couldn't get help until the next pickup point. It was tricky planning, but then they all flirted with constant danger during the entire picture.
Picture without insurance because no insurance company would insure us against the kind of risks that they were taking. But they did it, and it gives the film and it gives their performances a quality which couldn't otherwise have been achieved.
All I can say about those actors, Burt Reynolds and John Voight and Ned Beatty and Ronnie Cox, is that every one of them has got more guts than a burglar. They'll try anything. And they've been beat up and banged around on those rocks. These guys really believe in this, and they're so deep into the parts that they'll take on anything. Any part of the river, any rapids, Woodall Shoals, Sock and Dog, any of those places.
Drew! Drew, what's the matter? Louis, I'm gonna pull off to the side. There's something wrong. No, go on! Oh, what is it? Don't stop, man! No, hell, I'm gonna pull in. No, no! Drew! No, Louis! Man, look out! One eye!
During the course of the making of this film, I had what I can only describe as a turbulent relationship with James Dickey, and a bruising one. I think that I can say that I went 15 rounds with a champ and I'm still on my feet, and so is he. I'd much sooner have a row with James Dickey than I would a friendly conversation with most other people.
Out of this relationship between James Dickey and John Borman has grown the motion picture, Deliverance.